and welcome to my course on how to do an elevator pitch and why you should be able to do one. So over the course of this very short program, you're going to learn what an elevator pitch is, a couple of really good tips on how to do one, and there will be a project at the end of it which will look at you creating an elevator pitch on your agreed subject. And I will upload a format for you to do that with as well. Okay, so without further ado, let's crack on. What is an elevator pitch? So basically an elevator pitch comes from the entertainment world. And the idea was that you could meet somebody who could fund your movie or TV show, and during the course of an elevator ride in a hotel, you might be able to actually succinctly tell them exactly what your idea is, what your script is about, and see if they're interested in learning more and potentially funding you. But it has moved on into other areas of our lives. If you think of something like Dragon's Den, for example, the TV program, how you have to give a brief presentation to them and get across your idea in as few words as possible. That basically is an elevator pitch. We're also seeing it more and more as well in the world of recruitment, where we want to see why you think you're the best person for this job and potentially pitch you against the others that are coming for the role, to see who delivers the best presentation, who delivers the strongest argument, but also who works within the restrictions that you're given for this kind of thing. If you are a designer, if you're an illustrator, if you're anything creative, whether it's an artist or a ceramicist or a craftsperson, chances are you're going to have to do something like this as well, in order to kind of get your work out there and into galleries and into shops. You're going to have to prove to people why they should take a chance on you. And that's basically what it comes down to. That's what your elevator pitch is about. It's basically a byword for selling you, your ideas or your services, but in a smarter way. I seriously cannot emphasize this enough, but it is an art form in itself. It is about being concise and clear in your message, no waffle. Anybody who's done any more of my courses will know that I waffle a little bit. But for this, you really do need to kind of go back and revise and revise and revise, and to the point where less is more. If you think about something like, say, the back of a paperback, the back of a book, when you are choosing whether or not you want to buy that book and part with your money, and spend a portion of your life reading it, you tend to rely on what it says on the back and whether or not that grips you. That is another form of an elevator pitch, and the same goes for things like TV programs and film overviews that you may see on your streaming service, where you basically go by the description on whether or not you'll click the play button. And again, that comes down to it being another form of pitch. So as I said, this pitch idea is actually kind of permutating into various areas of our everyday lives in some form or another, whether it is from assessment centres or recruitment processes through to things like project management, where you might be asked to kind of put forward your idea or your theory or your actions in as concise a format as possible, and that's what this pitch idea is all about. And it has so many uses, it's untrue. Each of these areas, again, will come with its own restrictions and difficulties, and it will depend on where you want to use this. So what I've tried to do is this course is quite a general one, but use the discussion forum to kind of come up with any specific scenarios you have, and either me or some of the other students might be able to help you out. One thing to think about if it is around something like recruitment is think about your CV. Now, I don't know about you, but I've been working for potentially 40 years, and that's 40 years worth of employers' experience that you potentially don't want to lose. So I have what I call a master CV, which runs to about 4 or 5 pages. But then I will restrict that CV when I'm applying for a specific role, because I'll try and pull out all of the relevant experience, and especially your most recent experience, so that my CV will usually no more than 2 pages, but I will try and bring it down to one if I possibly can. And that's where it kind of comes down to that editing piece, and that's what a pitch is. It's about editing it. My other favourite way of describing this is, if you think about having to pay a fee per word, whether that's 10 pence, 10 cents, whatever your monetary value is, if you had to pay a fee per word, how many words would you actually use? And think about the process that you go through to get to that. So before you put in your final submission, how many times would you revise it and hone it and get people to review it for you, so that you only actually put in what you want to pay for? So I always think that that's quite a good way of looking at it when you're talking about doing something like an elevator pitch. So how do you go about creating your pitch? So the first thing for me is what's your aim? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to get to at the end of this? So what is your pitch for? So is it around recruitment? Is it around finding a retail space for your product? Is it around a promotion? Is it around getting your project off the ground? Is it around a new idea? Once you've kind of finalised that, I think then it's easier to actually work backwards. If it's something like an assessment centre or a recruitment piece that's outside of your control, then you may be restricted on kind of how much control you have around it. But if you kind of think of a few of these things as you go into it, it can help you. So remember, really, this is about it being a tagline. It's about hooking in those people so that they remember you and they remember what you're talking about. So on average, a pitch is around 60 to 90 seconds. That's a minute to a minute and a half. And if you think about why that is, it's basically because it's named after an elevator ride. And why would you want to spend 5 minutes in an elevator? You wouldn't. So you have to get your message across as quickly as possible. Now, the average person might fit in something like 120 to 150 words within that time frame. So that's what you kind of have to play with. So you need to consider what you're saying. You also need to consider the speed you're saying it at. So I know that when I'm nervous or when I'm up against it, I can talk very fast. And trying to slow it down is a real conscious effort, and it's that kind of thing that you need to bear in mind here. The other thing it's useful thinking about here is starting with the end in mind. So again, it goes back to what is your aim, what do you want to achieve, what would be the ideal outcome or scenario for you at the end of this elevator pitch? Would it be that you get their business card, their phone number, set up an appointment and that kind of thing? So start with that in mind. What would you be happy with as an outcome? And then from that, work backwards and craft your pitch. So if it is about getting a foot in the door, if it is about getting an appointment to show your work, then how do you get them interested enough to do that? Remember, their time's valuable, as is yours, but they're probably less likely to give it away to complete strangers. So how do you get over that hurdle? Again, it's an easy one to say, but once you have something to work with, then you just need to refine it and then refine it again and keep refining it until it comes down to basically distill your idea. This one may sound like an obvious one, but please don't forget to introduce yourself. Some people, especially if they are a little nervous around this, will forget to do that. You have to give them your name and something of your personality to remember you by, to kind of be that hook that they put everything together on. Be authentic as well. Don't try being what you think they want to see. Be yourself, because they will buy into your honesty and personality as well as your product or your idea, and especially if it's around recruitment, because they want you. You're going to have to work there. They don't want an act that you won't be able to kind of keep up. And again, practice, because timing is your friend. If you only have that period of time, even if it's a minute, 2 minutes, whatever your restriction is, you need to kind of be on time. You can't overrun, because in a lot of cases they will cut you off at the knees. They will say, no, that's it, done. And either walk away or depending on the scenario, just stop you. So you won't have got your full message across, and that's what you aim to do here, is get that message across. Okay, so this one is a brief overview of some tips to kind of help you get to where you need to be. Now, I know some of these might seem absurdly obvious, but sometimes you do forget about them. So never lose sight of what you want to achieve. Going back to what I said earlier, what's your aim? What's your end game? What do you want? What would you be happy with at the end of this? And keep those numbers in mind, that 120 to 150 words during that particular very short time span of 60 to 90 minutes. Keep it in mind and work towards that number, especially if you know that you're only going to have a brief window. And introduce yourself and make sure that they won't forget you and they know who you are and they can put everything together into one thing. Again, practice really does make perfect, so please do it, whether it's in front of the mirror in the bathroom or in your bedroom with the door closed, whatever it takes, please do it. I would sometimes as well ask family or friends to be your audience and to give you some honest feedback. And the reason for doing that is potentially they won't know the subject so much, so they can't comment on the content of what you're delivering, but they can comment on your style, your delivery style, your personality and how you come across, and even down to things like using words like and like, that kind of thing. We all do it, as you'll have noticed during this voiceover. I've done it so many times. We do it even on a face-to-face basis as well. So if you feel you can, try adding in some interesting facts, something memorable. It could be something along the lines of, you saved the business X amount of money by implementing this particular thing. It will depend on the scenario. It will depend on the reason that you're doing this pitch. So if it is around, say, something personal like your work, whether it's craft or art, it could be something interesting around that, somewhere else that stocks your stuff, where else you may sell it online, that kind of thing. But do something that is personal to you. And again, I've mentioned this before, but maybe record yourself. So most smartphones these days will allow you to do some form of video or voice recording, deliver it to that item, and then watch out for things like repetitive phrases or words and fillers like and like, as I've mentioned already, and as I keep doing. In the best practice of all teachers, do as I say, not as I do. Keep it real as well. So authenticity is key. They are looking for you as a person. They're looking for personality traits that you have. They're not looking for an act, and it's something that you can't sustain anyway. And this is a form of sales pitch, but it doesn't have to feel like it. So don't do the hard sell necessarily unless you gauge the situation and you think that's what the person in front of you actually would respond to. If not, I mean, yes, you're selling you're selling your ideas, you're selling your goods, but you do it in a way that feels comfortable for you as an individual. So again, it sounds obvious, but keep all your content relevant to your end game. But it's all got to point to whatever it is that you would like to be the end result here. And if it doesn't fit, consider it waffle and ditch it. Cut it, be quite ruthless. Write it out and maybe ask somebody else to review it for you ahead of you practicing, so that you're not wasting your time practicing something that's too wordy or doesn't get to the point quick enough. So I would suggest that, once you've written it out and you are happy with it, pass it to a loved one, a friend, a colleague, get them to review it and give you some notes on it before. because again, a fresh pair of eyes, especially if you spent some time on it, can spot things that you potentially can't see. And it goes without saying, most of all, have some fun. This is about you and your personality, and that's what you're trying to get across on top of whatever else your aim is. So, make sure that you shine, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. There's a way of finding a way of doing this and making sure that you sell what you need to sell. Right, so now to the wrap up. You've learned what an elevator pitch is, kind of where it's come from and its various elements. You've also looked at some tips on how to create your own elevator pitch. And now what I would like you to do, using the supplied format, is create an elevator pitch that is personal to you and upload it and share it with us on the discussion forum. That would be really useful. Also, please use the discussion forum. So if you have some specific queries around some kind of pitch that you have coming up or that you need to do, or if it's around recruitment, that kind of thing, please pop the query in there, and if I can't answer it, hopefully one of the other students can. And at the same time as well, we can all help each other, hopefully. So I'd like to see the discussion group used as a support mechanism too. So good luck, and thank you very much.